In most cases, a website or a JavaScript application contains many CSS files, and the browser must fetch those files from the server to completely load the page. Downloading more files takes more time as the browser has to send more HTTP requests. Additionally, all CSS files are render blocking, which means that the more CSS files a page depends on, the more time it takes to render the page. In this video, I'm going to show you how to combine all CSS files into a single file using Gulp and the Gulp Concat plugin. First, I'm going to install Gulp Concat. Open the terminal and navigate to your project root directory. Then run npm install --save-dev gulp-concat to install it as a development dependency. I'm then going to import the gulp-concat module at the top of our gulp-file.js. Then we will need to create a new Gulp task and we will call this task CSS bundle, which of course you can call this task anything you want. The first thing that I'm going to do in this task is to use the Gulp source method to select our source CSS files. Gulp source can take a list of file names, a single file name, a glop pattern, or a list of glop patterns. Suppose the order of concatenation doesn't matter. In that case, you can use a glop pattern like src/css/****.css to select all the CSS files within the src/css folder and any of its subfolders. Since we have multiple CSS files and they depend on each other, we will use an array and I will list those CSS files in the order in which we want to concatenate them. We can then use a pipe to call our concat function, which will concatenate all of our source CSS files. It needs an argument that provides the name of the new single continuous file that it will create. We can use styles.css. We will then use the final pipe with the Gulp destination function to tell this task where we want to write our new concatenated file, and we want to write it in the dist/css directory. Then we will need to export this function to make this task available as a public Gulp task. To execute this task, save the Gulp file.js, pull up the terminal and run Gulp CSS bundle. Let's take a look at our dist/css directory where there should be a new styles.css file that contains all of our source CSS files. We will then need to open the index.html file and get rid of all CSS file references in favor of a single file located at css/styles.css.